Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that I won't look after my brother when anything happens to them? I, female 35, recently bought a house by myself for the first time, after saving like crazy for 3 years and then selling my flat in the city. The house is nothing fancy, but it has 3 bedrooms, a back garden, and space for my dogs to run around. I'm really hoping that this will be my forever home. I know that I'm very fortunate to be able to do this, especially as a single woman on her own. But I've also worked incredibly hard to get here. Lots of late nights at work, side gigs, and climbing the ladder where I've been able to. My younger brother, Jack, male 33, is yet to have a full-time job in his adult life and still lives with our parents. He and I get along really well and I love him to pieces, but I've been concerned for a long time about his lack of motivation to do anything in life. He used to struggle badly with his mental health and I've always been there to support him, including financially at times. But he's been doing okay for a few years now and still has no interest in trying to find a job or start a career. He and my parents came over to see the house for the first time recently. While my mom and I were making dinner in the kitchen, she remarked how nice and spacious the house is. I thought she meant for the dogs, so I agreed with her. She then said, "It's so great that your dad and I know there's a place for Jack when we're not around anymore." I just stared at her for a second, processing what she had said. And then, without really thinking, I blurted out, "Jack's not coming to live with me. Ever." My mom thought I was joking at first, but I clarified what I meant. I love my brother, but I'm not interested in taking over the role that my parents currently play. I don't want him sitting on my sofa, playing video games and rotting away for the rest of our lives. My home is mine and I've worked hard to be able to create this space for myself. My mom was very upset with me and claimed that I was being selfish because I had a helping hand in buying my first flat, which allowed me to eventually buy this house. For context, the helping hand was the settlement I received after a workplace accident at age 19. She also said that there is no point in buying a house with 3 bedrooms if I'm planning to live alone forever. We finished making dinner and then managed to eat the meal without saying anything else about it. My parents and Jack went home, but I then got a call from my dad later on that night, saying that my mother was beside herself over thoughts of what would happen to Jack when both of them are gone. He said that I was being a bad big sister and that family is the most important thing in the world, so I should do my part to look after Jack when he's been so vulnerable in the past. I won't lie, what he said did get to me. I love my brother, and I do have the extra space. So, I am wondering, am I the a-hole in this situation?
Not the a-hole. Bad sister. How about them being bad parents for not preparing their son for an independent life? That's their job. You don't have extra space. That space is all yours, well, yours and the dogs. No one gets to dictate to you what you do with your house or your money. Tell your parents they better start doing their job and get Jack up and running before it's too late.
Thank you. I think you're right. I need to have a conversation with them and they need to have a conversation with Jack, in case he has similar expectations.
Does Jack help take care of them? Make their life significantly easier in some way? I'm just curious if your parents will ever be eager to see Jack leave to go out on his own.
Apart from the money they receive from him, which in turn comes from his social welfare payment, he doesn't really do much to help around the house. He mostly plays video games and watches YouTube. My mom still makes his dinner every evening.
Not the a-hole. Your parents failed him. They need to make sure he can be an adult on his own. That's the parents' job. You can be a loving sister, but you weren't born to be his caregiver.
Info. Does your brother have any sort of disability that is keeping him from working a full-time job?
He does not, apart from previous struggles with mental health. As far as I know, from what he tells me, he's doing much better nowadays.
Do you know why your parents are treating him as if he doesn't actually have the capability of holding down a job? I wonder if you need to sit down with your parents and ask them directly why you should be parenting your adult brother, if when something happens to them, why he's allowed to not be a productive adult in society, as you seem to be doing.
I think because he was in a pretty bad place about 5 years ago, they feel very protective of him and they're worried that he could return there if pushed too far. To be honest, I personally believe the opposite. I think that getting out of the house and holding down a job would be great for him and allow him to feel productive. I'm sad to say that I've had this conversation with them multiple times over the years. They have also tried broaching the subject with Jack directly. He gets very upset when they bring it up, and so they pull back because they're afraid of upsetting him too much. It's a horrible cycle.
Not the a-hole. Plenty of people who struggle with their mental health work full-time jobs. If your parents want to coddle your 32-year-old brother so he can live his life like a perpetual teenager, that's their choice. However, it doesn't mean it's a burden you inherit after their passing. They have plenty of time to help your brother get himself sorted now they know that your brother will be on his own someday in the future. It's better to take a stance now so your parents don't live with the delusion that you'll take your brother in and support him.
Update. Thank you so much to everyone who commented here. The support has been overwhelming. I'm sorry I can't respond to everyone. I've gone through most of the comments in this thread, and I feel safe in the knowledge that I am doing the right thing by standing my ground on this. And thank you as well to everyone who commented about the possibility of Jack having ADHD. I am definitely going to raise it with my parents and see if it's something we could take further. Maybe there is more specific support we can provide to my brother. Am I the a-hole for not telling my husband's friend that his boss is my uncle? I, 29 female, am on friendly terms with a couple of my husband's, 30 male, friends. My husband works with this group of people in the same tech company, so they are colleagues as well as friends. Let's call them Kurt, Veronica, and Rachel. The three of them often visit our home and we hang out together and chill. And on these occasions, Kurt and Veronica have cribbed about their bosses, as friends do amongst each other. The thing is, one of their bosses that they like to crib about is my uncle, father's brother. My uncle has been in that company since at least 10 years and is in a very senior position. He is also my husband's boss. But we've never told Kurt or Veronica that we know him. The last time we hung out was last Sunday. As usual, Kurt was telling me how his boss, my uncle, didn't approve his work-from-home request. He was pissed that his request got denied, but my uncle granted work from home to other female employees who were just back from their maternity leaves. And he said a few other things about him, like how stingy he is and how he's an old guy who doesn't understand how work from home is better for productivity than work from office. I just listened to Kurt and smiled and empathized with him, but we never told him that we knew his boss. Fast forward to yesterday, I posted an old family pic of mine on Instagram, which I found after many years, where all my family was gathered, including my uncle. He looked young but was very much recognizable. What I had forgotten was, some time ago I had added Rachel on my Insta. We never chatted on that app, so I had completely forgotten about it. As you can guess, she saw it and must have told Kurt, because he freaked out and confronted my husband. When he returned home, he told me how freaked out Kurt was and what happened in the office. He said he simply accepted that his boss was my uncle and we knew him, and Kurt walked away angry. Kurt messaged me yesterday night, saying how hurt he was that I would hide such an important detail and let him talk shit about his boss. He's having a meltdown saying I must have told my uncle what he says behind his back, and that's why my uncle is giving him unfavorable treatment. I never even told my uncle that I knew these group of people who worked under him. I didn't think it was anything important to be told. People tend to dislike their bosses and it's okay. And I'm confident that my uncle must have some solid reason to deny Kurt's work from home request. And even if he doesn't, it's no place of mine to tell him how to handle his business. My husband also supports me and told me it's completely my prerogative whether to tell people who I'm related to. Kurt and Veronica feel I should have had some integrity and informed them beforehand that their boss was my uncle. So, am I the a-hole for not telling them?
Not the a-hole, but if I were you, I'd firmly tell Kurt that the company is none of your business, and that whatever has been discussed in your home has stayed there. I expect Kurt is panicking that he's going to lose his job.
It is your prerogative, but Kurt and Veronica have every right to be upset. You know they wouldn't have vented to you if they knew. It's lying by omission. I would personally feel set up and would not trust you or your husband again. You are the a-hole.
Not only that, I just find it bizarre that they wouldn't have mentioned it in normal conversation. Oh no way. Kurt, you started working at Dunder Mifflin? My uncle works there too. Do you know Michael Scott? What? He's your boss? That's crazy. I'll tell him I know you.
You are the a-hole. Even if you acted honorably and compassionately, you did omit information that any reasonable person would consider very relevant for the context. If you had said something along the lines of, "I feel I should tell you that I know your boss, he is my uncle," before you continue. "I don't have any intention of interfering with your company or your job, and I consider it natural and positive to vent about your bosses to friends. So do feel free to continue. But I felt you should be aware. You would have saved your friend's anguish and yourself a possible conflict of interest. Just from a personal and selfish point of view, what would you have felt motivated to do if your friend had said something really bad about your uncle? Would you have told your uncle? Would it affect your relationship with your friend or uncle, etc.? By not letting them know of the context, you opened yourself up to possible emotional dilemmas that could have been quite easily avoided.
It's crazy to me that the top comment is saying not the a-hole. My trust would be completely broken if someone did this to me. If I can't trust them to not lie by omission, how can I trust that what I say won't be passed on? No one is putting themselves in Kurt's shoes. Realistically, I think 90% of people would be freaked out if they'd unknowingly been insulting their boss to a relative.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories.